Hi, this video is my poster presentation for the 2021 Southwest Educational Resource Association. My name is Dr. Samantha Strada, and the presentation is called Exploring First Generation College Students' Academic Motivation, Success, and Persistence. This is an ongoing study, so part of the title is also preliminary findings. So for the purposes of this study, first generation college students are going to refer to undergraduates whose parents have never enrolled in a post-secondary education, which we got this definition for Cataldi 2018. In this study, 72% of first generation students enrolled in post-secondary education, and 33% of the students who were first generation left without actually earning their degree. We are following Tinto's student retention model and self-determination theory of motivation. Previous studies have found a positive relationship between academic motivation and first generation students' persistence. So here are the research questions that we want to answer eventually in this study. What motivation profiles exist among samples of first generation college students? And do first generation college students with an intrinsic motivation profile report higher levels of academic and social integration than students with other profiles? We obviously obtained permission from the IRB prior to data collection, and this is a joint effort. So I'm collecting data at the University of Texas at Tyler. My co-author is collecting data in the University of Colorado, and we are also attempting to collect data in the University of Missouri eventually. Remember, this is just an ongoing study, so everything that I'm presenting is preliminary findings, and for the most part, they're findings from the University of Texas at Tyler. So in the fall of 2019, I was a new assistant professor, and I didn't really know how to reach out to this population. I was only able to collect 32 surveys. And in the spring, when I contact the students again for their follow-up survey, I was only able to match pair responses for 19 of them. So the other students did not respond, but it's still almost 50%, so I thought I was pretty good for a first attempt. This last fall, I learned a little bit. I learned the ropes around UT Tyler. I learned how to use SONA from the psychology department, and I made some contacts. And I was able to collect data from 195 students, and I'm hoping that if I can get 50% of them for spring, that would be great. So let's go over the demographic information from the data that I collected in Texas. So you can see that the majority of the sample was female. Most of them were undergraduates. There were a couple of students that were in the master's degree, and some of them selected other. I got some weird responses there. Some of them said MD. As far as I'm aware, we did not have an MD program in UT Tyler last semester, at least. Some of them were, one person selected pharmacy D. I'm not sure if it's pharmacy PhD or something. And then the others actually typed in bachelor's, and I wonder if it was just a disconnect, or they didn't associate undergraduate with bachelor's. So here's the breakdown of who responded to the survey by year. You can see most of them were first year students. This is tricky at UT Tyler because sometimes they come in with a lot of credits from the community college, Tyler Junior College. So even though it's their first semester at UT Tyler, they actually have a lot of credits and they can be considered sophomores. And here it's what it looks for enrollment. Surprisingly for Texas, it was Most of them were full-time students, and only 4% were part-time students. We also asked them what was the highest level of education for their parents. And you can see this is how we're going to screen out first generation students. And you can see that for high school diploma, GED, did not finish school, especially for high school diploma, is the largest bar for mother and for especially for father. And then the rest is either they didn't know, they didn't want to share it, or their parents had some kind of college degree. So eventually they would be excluded from the study, and we would focus in these three categories. So these are the measures that we use to collect data. We use the academic motivation scale, institutional integration scale, academic support and barriers, and students' persistence and learning outcome scale, persistence and attention scale. So I'm going to go over the items that I found the most interesting. So for example, this part of the scale focuses on their student relationship with other students. My interpersonal relationships with other students have had a positive influence in my growth. The students' friendships that I've developed at this university have been satisfying. And you can see from the distribution from strongly disagree to strongly agree that most of the responses are at least from neutral to strongly agree. So they're skewed to the left. So that's good. At least they're developing a good relationship with their classmates. Next, I focus on their relationship with the professors. And this one is interesting. For example, look at non-classroom interactions with faculty have had a positive influence on my career goals and aspirations. Non-classroom interactions, again, with faculty have had positive influence. And you can see a lot of them felt neutral about their non-classroom interactions. And I just want to remind you, the majority of the data was collected in fall 2020, where most of the courses are being held online due to COVID. Now about like seeking support, getting assistance from a tutor, having a role model. Here I was again happy to see that at least for the four items at the top here, you can see that again it's left. Next I'm going to present preliminary findings from the data in Colorado. We did a latent profile analysis on the subscale scores of the academic motivation scale. After comparing the fit statistics and the interpretability of the subgroups, we decided on a three-class solution as the best model. The first class was labeled low motivation, which had individuals who exhibited low levels of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation for going to college. And then there's the moderately motivated and then highly motivated. What's interesting here is that even though they have different levels of motivation, they all seem to have the same pattern. So the next steps are going to be to continue collecting data in the spring of 2021 in Texas and Colorado. And then we're going to pull the data and perform the latent profile analysis again. This is my contact information, my email, and I have a Twitter if you want to tweet to me. Thank you.